I want to bring in another voice here. It is Julian Assange's colleague, Glenn Greenwald. He's on the line. He's a longtime backer and proponent of WikiLeaks and Julian Assange. Glenn, thanks for taking the time this morning.
Sure. I'm not sure why you introduced me as a colleague of Julian Assange, since I'm not actually that. I've reported on him as a journalist, but I'm happy to be with you.
Well, I would love if you could actually, just so people understand, characterize your relationship with him and with WikiLeaks.
Sure. I'm a Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist who has reported on WikiLeaks over the years, just like NPR has. And beyond that, I don't have any relationship with WikiLeaks or Julian Assange, and I'm not sure why you're trying to imply otherwise.
Have you been in contact with him today or leading up to this?
No.
And what do you think of the charges against him?
Well, I agree with the Obama Justice Department, the Washington Post editorial of 2011, the Guardian editorial from yesterday, and the consensus of press freedom groups around the world, which is that prosecuting Julian Assange in connection with publishing secret documents that showed U.S. war crimes is one of the gravest threats to press freedom possibly imaginable. And the indictment that the DOJ issued says, among other things, that Assange, for example, encouraged Manning to get more documents than she had originally provided, which is something journalists, I don't know if you work with sources or not in your reporting, but I do. This is something journalists do every day. They say, thanks for getting me this. Is there any way you can get more of that? So to criminalize that, encouraging sources to get more classified documents, is to criminalize journalism. And I would hope no journalist would stand behind the Trump administration as it tries to do that.
So you believe even if the charges that we just heard about from the U.S. government, even if they are true, that Julian Assange was involved in actually cracking into the U.S. government and helping Manning, that would not go beyond the definition of journalism?
Well, it depends what they were able to prove. The Obama Justice Department tried for years to find evidence that Assange did more than work with Manning in the capacity that journalists typically work with sources, and concluded there was no evidence to be able to do that. They impaneled the grand jury in 2010 and spent years looking and said there was no evidence for that. Obviously, if Julian Assange actually hacked into a government database, that's just standard criminal hacking. But the indictment doesn't say that. The indictment says that Julian worked with Chelsea Manning and encouraged her in order to get these documents, which, again, is something journalists do all the time. We'll have to see what the evidence says. Obviously, hacking is a crime, and just because you're a journalist doesn't mean you get to do that. But encouraging a source or working with a source to get documents is pure investigative journalism.
And if we set the larger debate about press freedom and how dangerous, as you say, this could be for press freedom, and a lot of disagreement out there over those issues, could we look at what happened specifically with Julian Assange in terms of the law? I mean, the British say he broke the law by skipping bail. You have Swedish prosecutors who say that their case is not necessarily closed on allegations of sexual assault. And you have the Ecuadorian government saying he no longer deserved asylum. So is there anything that is outside the bound of legal processes taking place today, bringing him into custody?
Well, the Ecuador had provided Julian Assange with asylum because they were concerned that his arrest would be used as a pretext to ship him to the U.S. to be prosecuted in connection with the publication of documents, and so that would be a persecution of him for his political liberties. And that's as true today as it was 7 years ago. What changed is that the president of Ecuador for 6 years, who said to the U.S. and the U.K., we're not going to be bullied by you, was term limited out of office. The new president is much more submissive. The Trump administration has spent a year and a half trying to bully and coerce and pressure the Ecuadorian government to withdraw its asylum. So, yeah, I think threatening a foreign government to withdraw legally recognized asylum is a pretty severe violation of international law.
Do you have evidence of that? I mean, do you have actual reporting that the Trump administration has exerted that kind of pressure?
There's tons of reporting about that. If you go to Google and type Trump administration pressures Ecuador over Assange, you'll find every major media outlet in the world. I don't know how you missed it. Probably NPR has reported it too, saying exactly that.
Journalist Glenn Greenwald, thanks so much. We appreciate your time this morning.
Sure. Good to be with you.